Ghost in the Night with Phil Sams.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ghost in the Night, a hauntings and paranormal podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to check out this podcast. If in the past week or so, you've heard me talking about the public event at Poasttown Elementary that is being put on by the Cincinnati Ghost Seekers. It's a $40 event. Go to cincyghosttickets.com. That is the best way to get your tickets. Only $40. Get you a ghost hunting event, food, drinks, all that happy stuff. So if you've always wanted to get into paranormal investigating or experience paranormal investigating, be sure to go get your tickets and head on out Halloween night to actually ghost hunt. It's a good time. I've been there. In past years, I went to this event 2 years ago. And tonight we have a very special guest, the owner of Poasttown Elementary, Darrell Whisman. So stick around. Darrell, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm just lovely. Thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast and discuss this very interesting location you happen to own and live at.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing place. We've been here 16 years now.
Really?
And every day's different.
I can imagine. I've lived in homes, private homes, pretty much all my life. Just about every home I've lived in has had some sort of activity, but not to the extent of what's been reported at your home. And
Right.
that does pose a very interesting question I wanted to ask. How does one person end up living in a haunted school? How did that come about?
Well, back in 2004, we lived about a mile and a half up the road, and there's a grocery store next door. And I'd come down to the grocery store and get stuff. And one day I drove down and got some stuff to the grocery and pulled out to head back home. And I looked over and I thought, man, that place is going to pot. I mean, the windows were all busted out of it. It was weeds growed up taller. You park a car in here and nobody'd see it. But it just looked horrible. And I got to think, I went to school here in 1963, and I got to thinking that'd be a neat place to have, I was getting ready to retire out of my business and let my son-in-laws take it over, and didn't have nothing to do. So I went and got my wife, and I said, let's go look at something. And we drove down here, and she goes, no, don't even think about it. And I mean, it was rough. The door windows was broke out and stuff. So we walked up and reached in, pushed the bar door to open, and walked inside, and it was just creepy. But at that time, there was homeless people, teenagers. This was just a big party house for them all.
Yeah,
Been sitting empty for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And I just had big visions in my mind of what all could be done with a building this size, we had our first grandchild at that time, and our second one was due to be born anytime. That'd be so cool, have a full court gymnasium the grandbabies could play in. Just had a lot of thoughts in my mind, a lot of plans, a lot of retirement years, things to do,
Right.
That's kind of how it started. And then I talked her into it. It just so happened we got it on her birthday, December 4th. So I told her this is her birthday present.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you one question. Now, prior to purchasing the property, were you aware of any paranormal activity that was going on there? I'm not that familiar with it or the history of it. Did you know of any activity at the location?
Actually, no. I know I went to school here. My wife went to school here. Our kids went to school here. And I actually didn't know anything about paranormal. I
Right.
knew about haunted houses with chainsaws and clowns and all that. But paranormal, I didn't really know anything about. And we tried doing several things in the building. The county kept fighting us because of sprinkler systems and stuff like that. And it's an old building. And we was here for about 4 years. A guy here working for me, helping me work, putting windows in. I come down to get a new battery because the battery went dead on the drill, and I heard him running down the upstairs above me, and I thought something's wrong because John don't run. He's a big old boy, and in my mind, I'm seeing a piece of glass had fallen and cut him, and he's running to get help. So I grabbed the first aid kit and took off towards him. When I got up front, he was right at the bottom of the stairs trying to catch his breath. I'm looking for blood and stuff. And I said, "What's wrong, John? What's wrong?" There's something up there. I'm thinking, well, it's because we leave the doors propped open in the summertime, and we're working. Dogs, possums, coons, anything will walk in the doors.
Right.
So I had these big leather gloves come up past my elbows. I said, "Well, come on, I'll grab my gloves. I'll catch it." And he goes, "Dude, you ain't going to catch this." I'm like, "What do you mean I ain't going to catch it?" He said, "You ain't going to catch it." I said, "I'll get in one of the rooms, shut the door, I'll catch it. So if I can't catch it, I'll shoot it." And he said, "Dude, it's a ghost." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, man. There ain't no such thing as ghosts. What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, it has all that equipment, like on TV and stuff. They'll come and check it out for you." And I said, "Man, don't even say nothing like that around my wife and daughter." I said, "They'll be wanting to move out of here tomorrow, you know." And so we kept it under wraps a little bit. And every time I get done working in here, I'd go into the part we live in at night. And my wife's always watching them ghost shows and stuff. And one night I said, John's got some friends that has one of these ghost hunting groups that he says he'd love to bring them over here and let them go through the building. And my wife said, "Well, cool, let them do it." I said, "What if they find something?" She goes, "I don't care. God's on my side. I ain't afraid of nothing." And I said, "Hey." So I let them come over, and I stayed up with them that whole night. They set up all their equipment stuff, and every question they asked, they got a direct response.
Really?
And I'm one of them guys. There's a reason for everything, you know. So I'm thinking they're trying to trick me into thinking there's something here. They're saying, "Can you make a noise for me?" And bam. Can you wiggle that doorknob? And you hear it clicking and stuff. And I'm like, "Come on, man, there ain't no way."
Yeah.
And then I start thinking, well, I ain't never asked nothing to happen in here. And so it starts getting my curiosity. Well, it didn't take long. Somebody else is beating on the front door. And I go into the door, and it's a woman that says she has a little ghost group. And she heard that group was here and got some evidence. Could they come in and check it out? So I let them come in and check it out. And all the time I'm staying up there with them till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I got to get up and go to work at 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was taking its toll. And I said, "Man, I got to quit this. I'm not going to go do this no more." And they was like, "Man, you don't have to stay with them. Just get them started and leave them." And he said, "They won't nobody bother nothing." He said, "They'll actually pay you to come in here and do this." I said, "Yeah, people's going to pay me money to come in here and walk around the dark with a flashlight and a tape recorder."
It sounds crazy, but yes, we will.
And they do. And they do, yeah.
Now, quick
That's
question.
kind of how it all started.
Yeah. What is the craziest or scariest, however you want to put it, thing you have experienced there, personally?
Okay, I'm not a person that scares, I guess you'd say, but there's times you'll be coming up through the cafeteria with no lights on. Like at night when we go to bed, my wife or daughter would hear a bang or something, and they wouldn't lay down until I went and found what it was. And because it was usually some teenage kids or a homeless person stuck in the building, up in the part we don't live in.
Right.
And so I got to where I wasn't finding nothing. Wasn't nobody in here. And so I would just tell them, there was a window upstairs that was up and the blind was blowing and bouncing off the frame. And, just so I could get to go to bed and get up to go to work next morning. And that's the way I would pacify whatever was happening. I didn't realize there really was something here making noises.
Right.
But the creepiest feelings when you come through the cafeteria in the dark, no flashlight or nothing, and it just feels like something's right behind you.
Right.
And I notice myself, I'll pick up my pace a little bit,
Right.
and look around real quick, and there's nothing there. But I've been I don't want to say attacked. I've had 4 holes jabbed in my forehead.
Really?
Woke up bleeding like crazy at 4:15 in the morning. I've been thrown out of the bed. It got so bad. I got a video camera on my bed that watches me sleep at night because things would happen. It always happened while I was in bed asleep. And I got some video that's absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting thrown out of the bed. I've got it where sometimes I'm on my 8th hernia right now. And sometimes I can't lay down, so I throw a pillow on the floor and get on my knees and just lean up against the bed. And that's how I'm comfortable. So I'll just lean up against the bed and sleep. I got video of my shorts getting jerked off of me. It's crazy. But are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, it sounded like it disconnected on me. But yeah, I don't know. We have video from about a month ago of I don't know if you're familiar with the SLS.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, they had an SLS and it picked up a child up on the stair rail where the little girl was said to fell over, and a shadow figure comes up and snatches the SLS. And that's impossible. That can't happen.
Wow.
The SLS is picking up supposedly the spirit of something.
Yeah.
It's got 2 legs, 2 arms, body and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And when this shadow comes up behind it and grabs it, everything on it shoots straight out like, oh crap, something's got me, and I've never seen that. That's my most amazing thing right now in my mind.
Right, yeah.
There's so many videos on YouTube and of other people's evidence they've got here and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But this one's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, like I said, I've been there before twice on 2 different occasions. One of them was this, Halloween event a couple years ago, and one of the people I was with actually picked up on that little girl. He was, kind of some mediumship abilities.
Yeah.
He was sensitive, and he picked up on that little girl. And we spoke earlier about, that was kind of an urban legend, but there is documentation, and you have talked to people that verified that a little girl did fall down the stairs, correct?
Yes.
But she did not die there. She died later at home, right?
Right.
Because that's always been kind of my philosophy, and I've always kind of wondered why schools. I've investigated other schools that had some activity. Why do schools have activity? Because it's not a big place for trauma unless it's abuse as in mental or some other kind of abuse. But you don't get a lot of deaths. You don't get a lot of that like you would get at a hospital or an asylum or a sanitarium or anything like it, or a jail. So where is that energy coming from? What do you think is behind the activity at?
I've talked to thousands of investigators that's come through here, and I asked a lot of them, why is this school haunted? We don't have reports of a lot of deaths or nothing. We don't have, there was some trauma things, but the result of it didn't happen here. And a lot of people says when you pass, if you don't cross over, you'll go to where you were the happiest. And to a lot of kids, elementary school was their happiest place.
Right.
So just assuming that could be true. And then I asked, they'll be talking about other places they investigate. A lot of times, most of them go to cemeteries.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, well, if when you pass, you go to where you were the happiest. I don't know anybody that was happy at a cemetery.
Yeah.
When you go to visit your loved ones, you leave crying or sad because it's not a happy place to be.
Yeah, I've always thought that was kind of weird. That'd be the last place I would think a spirit would be. Is at a cemetery.
Right.
But schools I think schools, I kind of have a working hypothesis. I would think schools are very ripe for possible residual type hauntings, in that maybe the best time to investigate a abandoned school or any place, an education building, would be maybe during the day when those places were the most active. Now, do you get a lot of activity during the day, during like what would normally be school time hours?
It's day and night. Just the outside noise is so much louder. It's harder to catch in the daytime. But we'll hear footsteps upstairs and nobody here, in the middle of the day. It doesn't really change. It's harder to hear things at daytime because of all the outside activity everywhere.
Yeah, with the traffic, and
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Now, the cafeteria, where you've had a lot of experiences, and I've been down there. It is it's a creepy place. I will, especially if when it's dark and you're not in the flashlight with a flashlight and you're in pitch black darkness. It's kind of disorienting. I mean, and there is a weird feeling down there at times, and it's not all the time. I've been on, like I said, 2 different occasions, and it's not all the time. And I've heard stories, we've talked about, maybe I heard originally maybe a janitor type figure, and you've mentioned to me earlier about, a mean lunch lady. But there is something down there that might not be as friendly as what people
exactly think,
which would explain some of the stuff you've experienced.
Now this building daytime, and then when it gets dark, this building takes on a whole new atmosphere, I call it.
Right.
I mean, just the heavy feeling. It's just when it gets dark, it's like a whole different building. But I feel like a lot of times on the paranormal side, time's flipped. Like midnight is noon.
Right.
3 o'clock in the morning is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the reason I say that is a lot of times we'll be here in about 3 or 3:15. It'll sound like 30 kids going down the hallway or something.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff I would expect at a school, an abandoned school, stuff like that.
To me, that's them getting out of school, but they don't get out of school at 3:15 in the morning.
Right.
In the afternoon.
Right.
And I think the stuff that happens around midnight is lunchtime, and that's why we hear so much around midnight.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like the time's just 12 hours flipped.
That's very possible. I've never really thought about that, but it does kind of make sense that maybe
things that happen to me, I think, are a lot of things that are from something that somebody here had an attachment. When they left, it stayed here. And the spirits here didn't know what to do with it, so they bring it to me, but I'm asleep. So my subconscious has to deal with this.
Right. Yeah.
And another reason I say that is this past Saturday, there's a group here, and they were doing some kind of experiment with crystals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right above my kitchen. I could hear them walking around doing their thing. And they left at 3 a.m. And about 5 minutes after 4, I hear 3 distinctive different sets of footprints upstairs walking around. And I thought, well, they must just went and got something to eat or something and come back. So I go up check on them because I don't see a car nowhere. And I get upstairs and there's nobody up there. So I go back and watch the video cameras, and you see me walk down the hall. All I got them is in the hallways upstairs. And you see me walking down the hall, but there's never nobody else up there since they left at 3 o'clock. So whatever experiment they did trying to bring something out or whatever, it happened after they left. It took it that long to manifest or whatever.
Yeah.
But I never seen nothing. All I could do was hear the footsteps and stuff.
Right. Now, I know you have cameras all over the place, security cameras. What kind of things have you caught on those cameras that lend credibility to the activity there?
Every time something happens to me that I bleed, if I go back and look at the video cameras, door 109 opens on its own. And door 109 sticks so hard, you have to twist the knob and turn around backwards and kick it like a mule about 4 good kicks to get it to open. And and I put a camera on it, and when it opens, it's just smooth and easy. It's got a piece of plexiglass in the window that vibrates real easy. It's not moving or doing anything. Door just swings open and stops.
Wow.
And when I get up and look at my cameras and that door's standing open, I'm thinking, oh crap, it's going to be a rough night's sleep in the night.
Yeah, that's kind of
Something always happens every
right.
time that door opens.
Yeah, that's never a good sign, especially when you know something's about to happen. Now, I know we spoke earlier about shadow figures. I caught a shadow figure there on the second floor in the hallway on my first visit there. And how's that going? Are shadow figures still seen there or
Shadow
caught there?
figures are getting more and more out there. I mean, it's like they're not shy anymore, or they're not afraid, or whatever. But everybody's seeing shadow figures now. We're getting them on videos. Um, it used to be a once a month thing, maybe, or something like that. It was so exciting, and now it's getting to where it's just common. I mean, everybody's seeing shadows. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is.
So it seems like maybe the activity is ramping up a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Now, have the occurrences with you, maybe the more intimidating, more violent ones, have they started ramping up a little bit too, being more?
No, everything there is pretty much stayed the same. I put some new cameras up outside that have sound on them and stuff, and I only got 3 of them. But the one that I got shining out the back on the playground area, we were sitting like Saturday night, and I was showing them those cameras I put up. They're all 3 on the outside, and we're sitting there watching it, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can hear kids chattering like they're out there playing and stuff. And they're like, listen to that. I swear, we can walk out there. There ain't nobody out back.
Right.
I mean, we walked out there and it was dead silent, still, nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Which goes
Come
along.
back in here and turn the camera on, and the camera's picking up sound of kids playing.
Which that kind of goes along with your theory that time's flipped in the spirit world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
2 o'clock would be possible recess time.
Yeah, recess time, yeah.
One other place that is a kind of a hot spot that I've been in that part of the building is the principal's office. I know there's been a lot of activity reported there. We've got some interesting responses on a ghost box and EVPs and some weird EMF type spikes. What's going on there?
I just think the principal's office was probably the most active room in the building when it was occupied, because there's constantly something going on in there.
Right.
And like you said, the K2s, some nights you go in there and you can't get them to quit. They're just pagan all the way to red and stuff.
Right.
Some nights you go in there and they don't even light up.
Right. Which
and you lay a flashlight on the bookshelf in there and start talking to it. And if you're a boy, turn that light on. Bam, the light comes on. Or, I mean, everything happens on command. You don't have to wait 10 minutes for it to do something. Or it's fascinating to me. I guess I was probably one of the biggest skeptics there was, because I didn't know anything about paranormal, and I'm no longer a skeptic. On my T-shirts it says, "When you leave, you believe."
Yeah.
And it couldn't be no truer,
Right. Exactly. One thing that when I was there, we kind of focused on doing an EVP session and a ghost box session about the train wreck that happened down the. It did happen on the property. It was a little bit away.
About a mile down the track.
About a mile down the track, and we kind of focused on asking questions towards that, because I firmly believe that just because it didn't happen on the location, that energy, that negative energy, that imprint on that atmosphere can bleed off into the building itself, your property. Because I've heard that people have had some encounters with that relate to that train type accident. Have you heard or experienced anything that could?
Well, I kind of wasn't a believer in the train stuff at all myself, and I've heard so many people come, man, you got to hear this, you got to hear this. And they're asking questions about the train, and it sounds like on the recorder, like a train locking its brakes, that metal to metal sound, screeching, and then a loud crash and people screaming. And I'm like, where'd you get that at? And he said, that was upstairs, that second room back. And I don't know. It sounded like a train wreck. I don't know what it was or how it worked. And so many ghost boxes get names and things. And then they'll come in here, and I got all the stories on the train wrecks, manifest of the passengers. And a lot of times the names they tell me will go through the book and look. And it's somebody that got killed on the train wreck, or um, somebody that had a massive injury. And, it's kind of like, I can't deny the train stuff when you get it on EVPs.
Right.
But just my personal opinion, I mean, it happened, the worst one was in 1910. The school wasn't built in 1937. But people say that it's something on the land. It doesn't have to be the building, it's
Right.
the land.
Very possible. Yeah.
So
Now,
the train stuff, there is evidence of it.
is that line still active?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, but trains are always coming through there now still.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's one of those things, it could be, I don't discount that at all, just from the fact that kind of accident has to affect the atmosphere, the energy of the surrounding area, and that could bleed over into the building, to the school.
Right.
I mean, it's not that far of a stretch to think that, even a mile down the road.
Right. Well, I mean, then you got the Great Miami River right here beside us.
Right, which is,
That was a super highway for the Indians and stuff.
right.
And I've had people play EVPs for me where you can hear Indians chanting in the background.
Really?
Like, hey,
Really?
and you don't. How do you deny that?
Right.
I mean,
You can't, and that's,
yeah,
I've there's really something to paranormal activity and bodies of water, especially flowing bodies of water. Water is a great
yeah,
conductor for energy, and I believe that's a lot of what the spirit world is and the paranormal activity is. It's energy transferring. And
right,
so you get a lot of locations, haunted locations, I should say, by water, by rivers, or with underground wells,
right,
underground streams. There is something to that. A lot of people talk about limestone and all that other stuff, but I think water could play a very interesting role in paranormal activity, and the reason some places do have paranormal activity and are very active and other places aren't. So
right.
that's fascinating that the Great Miami runs that close to the property.
And then another strange thing about that, down in the cafeteria, the well is actually inside the building.
Really?
Yeah, and that's supposed to be illegal now.
Hmm.
Back then, I guess it wasn't, but yeah, the well's actually down in the cafeteria.
Huh. That is very, that just adds to my theory even that much more. That makes
Yeah,
sense, especially with the basement and the cafeteria area being so, it's creepy. I know it's dark and it's kind of confined with the way it's broke up. It's kind of weird. You're walking in and out of open rooms, but they're open rooms. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of,
right.
it's a cafeteria, but it's you just. I even and I don't get creeped out. Very rarely do I get creeped out. And I was like, even the first time I was down there, I was like, okay, there is a little bit of a weird,
Yeah,
tingly
the
type feeling
vibe.
down
Yeah,
here. But I didn't. We did a session down there, and I didn't get any EVPs or anything. It's just kind of a weird feeling. So I was like, well, maybe it's just me being down here in the basement, knowing what I know, and maybe, but we'll see. But that makes sense, with the well being down there.
yeah.
Um, how many? I'm going on a limb here and say business is pretty good. How many teams roll through there in a year?
Probably. I want to say 100 to 150.
Really?
Yeah,
That's an active. That's a lot of places. A lot of
Yeah.
people come through there.
Every Friday and Saturday night gets booked eventually,
Yeah,
and I get a lot of Sundays and Tuesdays and Mondays.
right.
A lot of people work weekends and they come on weekdays. And
Yeah, I mean that's good for business at least. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, because when Robert from the Cincinnati Ghost Chasers reached out to me to kind of talk about and saying, he wanted to sponsor the podcast, so to get some recognition for his event, his and your event this this upcoming Saturday, Halloween. And I said, sure, I'd love to. And he actually wanted me to come to the event and do a live podcast from there.
yeah,
And unfortunately, he caught me a week too late. I had a prior engagement now, but I definitely want to get back there and come and do a live podcast from there to kind of
yeah,
do an investigation and see what we can find and
yeah. It's
document.
amazing.
Yeah. One last question before I let you go, and thank you so much for spending your evening with me here.
It's okay.
Have you had any bigger, some of the TV shows reach out to you wanting to investigate there?
Yeah, I've been on Ghost Brothers. Um, my ghost story's been here twice.
Okay.
Uh, I've got I've been on another TV show that I can't talk about yet because they haven't released
Okay.
nothing.
Okay.
Um, it's I've had a few, yeah. Not you know I ain't had no Zach Bagans yet or nothing like that.
I'm not sure you want Zach and the boys because if
Uh,
if Zach and the boys show up there, you probably have demons and the place has to be
yeah,
burnt, has to be
yeah,
knocked down
yeah,
because he never met a demon he didn't like. Yeah, but
yeah,
I did know the Ghost Brothers had been there, which I actually like the Ghost Brothers.
yeah.
They amuse me. They're funny when they
They were here for 9 days straight. They
nine
like it.
9 days. Wow.
Yeah,
Did they?
yeah,
I hadn't seen that. I heard they were there. I hadn't seen that episode. Of course,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to find them
Well,
sometimes.
the scariest stuff they didn't put on the episode. I don't know why.
Really, but yeah, I mean that's cool that they've been there, and some of the bigger places have bigger teams and shows have been there, which is helps you out and gets the name out there. Of course, don't know how busy you want to be.
Yeah,
That's a downside to that. Well, I'm going to let you go. Thank you once again for coming on and sharing your story about Poasttown Elementary. And I hope the event Saturday goes off without a hitch and everybody has a great time. Thank you, Darrell,
yeah.
for coming on.
All righty. Thank you for having me.
All right.
We'll
You
talk to you later. See
take
you
care.
soon, I hope.
All right. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
Bye. All righty. That was Darrell from Poasttown Elementary. Um, it's a fascinating place for sure, and I think there is definitely something going on there. I mean, like the little girl that we talked about, um, the person I was with did pick up on that. A little girl fell falling down the stairs, and he wasn't from around here, so and I kind of got an eerie feeling at that location or on top of those stairs as well. I mean, I'm not sensitive by any stretch of any imagination, but it was very weird how he was picking up on that, and I did um, get kind of an eerie feeling about that. And with later research, we did find out that she didn't die there, but we did, validate that it did actually happen through some newspaper clippings that a girl did fall down the stairs. Now, saying it was the same girl and that gets a little tricky because this was kind of always an urban legend. Um, but that place definitely, there's something definitely going on there. But it's kind of hit and miss. Like the first time I was there, I got the shadow figure, heard a lot of noises, had some weird ghost box sessions where I was getting hit on by a spirit, which I did do a video on, which is cool. But the second time I was there, didn't really get much at all. I mean, so that's the paranormal, and that's what makes the paranormal so fascinating. At least to me, is you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you can get abundance of activity, and sometimes you get bupkis. So that is going to wrap it up. Once again, thank Darrell for coming on. Be sure to get your tickets to go to the Halloween event with Darrell at Poasttown Elementary and the Cincinnati Ghost Seekers. $40 gets you a ticket, and it gets you ghost hunting, possible experience some of the stuff we just talked about. It seems like activity is really starting to ramp up there. So there's a good chance you might get some good personal experiences at this place. So go to cincyghosttickets.com or check out the Cincinnati Ghost Seekers on Facebook. Just search them in the search tool, search area, and they'll pop up. And I'm sure there's another link or direct message them or whatever. So be sure to get those tickets and head out there and join the Cincinnati Ghost Seekers. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast, and we will see you next time. Take care.